I'm here with Coolabunga local, Cordell, Cordy Rogerson, and Cordy, you're a lot older than the last time I sort of was around you, but how did all this sort of motorbikes and that kick off, mate?
So, when I was young, I've always ridden dirt bikes around the farm. Mum, Dad, everyone's been into the bikes. My pop used to race, Colin Rogerson, he used to race a Speedway. So they took us to a meeting in Gold Coast actually. So we went down there, had a look at all the bikes go around there. I said I wanted to give it a go. So then Dad and Pop went out and bought me a bike and all the gear to go along with it just to try it out, and I've fallen in love with it ever since.
Because I remember you stood out immediately. I remember the last name, but I couldn't figure out how I knew it. And then you were the kid running leathers back in the day. So how did you start out with leathers? So what's on the other side of this door, Cordy?
The other side of this door is all storage. So it's all got other bikes, spare frames, one of the first junior bikes, all boots and more trophies.
Now, there's something special to me personally over the other side of this door, and I'll let you know exactly what we're getting at.
Yeah.
So, these were the leathers, mate. You were the kid running the leathers when everyone else was running either motocross gear or Kevlars. And as we're talking about it, there's Ivor and you.
Yeah. From Pop himself, he always used to race in the leathers, and it was just the safest option for us at the time. We could have gone Kevlars, but we chose to stick with the leathers and sort of the old school. But other than that, it was just for pure safety reasons. Leathers at an Aussie title. That was the first set of leathers that we ever got custom made. As you can see, there's only a few sponsors on there, and they were pretty basic, and they're probably 6-year-old now, I'd like to say, and they're still perfect condition.
Well, funny you should say that, because I just looked over this shoulder and have a look at the difference. Like how flash.
Yeah, what's changed.
So, coming from a heritage of people being involved with motorbikes, was there any other option? Yeah, if we're ever short of thanking sponsors, there's a good shot right here of quite a few.
Yeah, you can't thank the sponsors enough, really. Everyone that's helped us out. Kingaroy Quarry Supplies, he does a lot for us. All the local businesses, they do a lot for us as well. Gary McCoy out at Coo there, he runs that cafe. Like I mentioned before, Cali, they're overseas, but they still help us out a lot. JF Signs, another local business. Sinforce Lubricants, they're from Harvey Bay there. They help us out with all our oil and stuff like that. Mango Motors, Ham's Crane Hire, everyone that makes it possible to get on the racetrack, you can't thank them enough. There was options of obviously motocross and all that sort of stuff, but Speedway's the way we wanted to do it, or the way I wanted to do it after I seen them going around.
What was it like the first time you hopped on a bike to actually try and go sideways?
Definitely a scary feeling to start with. Obviously it's nothing like you've ridden before. It's completely different to a dirt bike. You've got no brakes and no gears. Just trying to work out what the best way to sit on the bike, ride the bike, everything about them was totally different. It's just like taking up a new hobby, I suppose.
What was it like with the power delivery? Was it something that as soon as you sort of crack the throttle, it was immediate, or was it one of those things you sort of, you yourself, you're a bit skittish, and then you went into full throttle sort of mode?
We were definitely tentative to start with, but once you know that it's easier to hold them flat out. I know for a fact that Dad and Pop, he used to stone me all the time about just ride them flat out. It's a lot easier, and I didn't believe him until I actually did it and tried it out, and now you won't go back.
For people that are playing at home that are either long-time Speedway fans or new to the sport, explain to me why it's important to use the throttle to control the bike.
The throttle will make you go and not really stop, but it will decrease your speed a lot. You can pretty much run everything off that one side. If you need to go faster, you obviously twist it on more. If you need to pick up a bit more grip, you can back it off a little bit and kill everything. Everything depends off that one throttle pretty much.
I've seen people that don't normally race solos jump on for either the display or something like that, and I think it must be so difficult to get it through your head and to do it that spinning that back tyre is going to turn you around the corner.
It's definitely a scary feeling, especially on the 500s, because they obviously go a lot faster than the 125s. But once you do realise that once you get that back tyre spinning, everything just is smoother, faster and easier to ride.
With your career, I definitely noticed you from the get-go, like I said before, or the leathers especially, but you've done a lot of travel in your career, and at what point did you start going different states or start chasing the meetings?
As soon as we could, pretty much. We knew we had to, if we wanted to make this a big thing, we had to get out there and not only get our name out there, but all the other competition. It's good to have the local boys, but to get a bit more competition like you would at an Aussie title or something like that, you've got to travel and know where you're at.
Where did you go to initially that you just went, wow, I'm a long way out of my depth or away from home here?
First place I ever thought that was probably Mildura, where we travelled all the way up there, or down there. It was sort of the furthest we've ever gone. The track was different, everything about the venue was different. The people down there they're all good people, but there's nothing like we have up here in Queensland. So it was just sort of trying to find your feet at a different track in a different state. It was totally different.
And you're talking about a club too that a lot of big names and a lot of prestigious riders have come out of. So was it daunting to go to a club like that, being a country kid from Queensland?
Not so much daunting, just wanting to get your name out there, I suppose. Like, as you say, big names come from there, and everyone around the world watches all the Mildura stuff. So to get your name up on a Mildura page, it's pretty big.
What were some of the times that you started thinking, yeah, this is starting to come together for me, or I'm actually making inroads on what is a very difficult sport?
It sort of all came together when we picked up a few more sponsors that would help us out, and then got the bit faster bikes, started building our own motors to get that little bit more speed, and then we sort of found ends there, but they weren't really meeting at the time. And then we were lucky enough to get Ivor Harm on board with us, and he gave us some bikes to ride, and that's really when we stepped up our game and started getting places.
I've talked about Ivor a little bit in something else I've got coming up, but he's been around the game a very, very long time, and he's, in my eyes and a lot of other people, has basically kept Queensland Speedway bike racing on the map. Now, how did you come across Ivor?
There's a funny story behind this one actually. It was the New South Wales titles, if I remember it correctly, down in Summersby. It was the qualifying meeting on the Friday night. I actually crashed out in my first race and ended up in the pits with all the respirator mask on and all hooked up to their machines and stuff. I went back to hospital that night or that afternoon so I could get a checkout. Ended up going back to the hotel where we were staying, and it just happens that I was staying there as well. And I remember him coming up to me and saying, have a teaspoon of concrete and harden up. So I took that into it, and then we went out the next day in the support races, and I maxed out the support races, and that's when Ivor noticed me then.
It kind of comes with the territory. You kind of do need to be quite tough in this. And I find too, the girls that come through, and some of them continue, some of them stop, but as a sport in general, it is a tough person sport.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough sport, mentally and physically. You got to be on your A game every time you hop on the bike, otherwise it's not really worth hopping on it.
I've noticed that your whole family, every time you come to the track, you guys are friendly, and that's great, but also you're very much in your own sort of game, and you're about your meeting, and it's cool to see because there's so many different personalities that come into sports, and there's some people, they like to socialise, and to the point of they'll be getting called up to nearly have a 2-minute wait to get out on the track, and there's other people that are so serious they won't talk. So you guys seem to have the happy medium, but what is a normal race weekend like for you?
Say we went to Brisbane to race this weekend, we'd obviously get up in the morning, we'd have all the van packed Friday night, make sure everything's ready to go, and then we'd hop in the car, travel down to Brisbane. We'd get there a couple of hours before the meeting starts, we'd turn up, we'd say our g'days and everything, be happy with it, and talk to people there for a couple of hours. But sort of the 2 hours towards the start of the meeting, we go into our own little thing and get all the bikes set up, make sure I'm ready to go, everything's ready to go, and then we sort of stick with ourselves throughout the meeting, and then after the meeting it's all back to being mates in the pits and having a laugh.
You've pretty much described Australians in general, let alone in speedway bikes, but do you have backup plans and things like that if, say for example, the meeting is just not panning out at all for you?
The meeting's not really panning out for us, we'll try and go back to the basics we know. So say something wasn't working for us, we'd take a look at it and go, righto, what can we do here? Change a few things on the bike, maybe change something about me, where I'm sitting, where everything like that sort of thing. But we just try and, if something's not working for us, we'll just take a few steps back and have another go at it.
It's making the adjustments towards the rider and the bike as well. You know, you've got a mechanical style background and you're in a trade at the moment, that's very handy too, but do you find it's very helpful having your pop and your dad ex and current rider instructors?
Yeah, that's definitely helped us out a lot. Poppy's done heaps for us. He was the first one on board. He's always helped us with bikes. If we need to know anything about tracks or anything, he's always there. We can talk to. He's been around and he knows his stuff. Dad, with his mechanical background, obviously, he does immense amount of work in the shed for us. If I'm working late or whatever it is now, he can be in the shed when he knocks off work and doing motors and stuff for me, which is always good. If I don't have time, he's always there to help out, which is unreal.
Just to touch on that, you come through at a very young age, and you know, some people younger, some people older with their careers, but it's kind of light-hearted and comedy based to me that you kids are now growing up and having apprenticeships and full-time jobs, because you're now having that struggle that everyone hits where it's, this is my hobby but I want to make it into something, but I've got to keep the money coming in and back myself into a trade. So what's that like at your age now to have that sort of balance? Is it hard to balance work and Speedway?
Yes and no. Obviously, Monday to Friday is our work week, and that's normally when you do the bike prep. So I'll be working 10 or 12 hour days, come home, spend 2 or 3 hours in the shed every night, just getting all the bikes prepped and ready to go for the following weekend that we race. If there's something that I can't do, if I've got to work later or something changes, I know the old man's always here and he can help us out if we need.
I want to talk back about Ivor Harm, because he's had some really talented kids come through, and just to name a couple, you know, Nick Morris, Dougie, Darcy Ward, yourself is coming through now, Tate's coming through, you know, Flinney, and it's just so important that people like him exist. But do you feel a lot of pressure being on that team?
Yes and no, I suppose. I know you can only do as good as you can do, sort of thing. Ivor's got a keen eye for talent, obviously. All the boys he's helped has made it overseas and made it into teams over there. So it's just about plugging away at myself now and getting myself and all the bikes ready to get up to that top step.
I believe that there is a future in this for you beyond just Queensland, myself, because things have changed drastically from your career since I've been away and come back. But what are you realistically working towards in the next couple of years? Because I know COVID's sort of ruined a lot of people's plans, but you're knocking on the door of something. But what are you trying to achieve?
There's always plans getting thrown in and thrown out, obviously, but the main thing is finish the apprenticeship off in a couple of years, and then obviously look at just riding as much as we can, wherever we can, whether that's having to go down State Mildura for a couple of months and work out of there and ride down there, and then eventually hope to get a ride overseas and make it over there.
There's people that have done it, and you know, it's harder nowadays in my eyes, because you know, look at the season Ryan Douglas has just had. He rode everything there is to ride. Darcy Ward's been in his ear the whole time. You know, he's one of Ivor's prodigies at the time as well, and you know, he's worked so hard and he's finally over there. But I can see that happening for a few other guys, and I think the whole idea of having a trade behind you is a really good thing.
Yeah, so the whole idea of the trade is if Speedway goes pear-shaped in the future, I've always got something to fall back on. But at the end of the day, Speedway is where I want to be and it's what I want to do. So we do everything possible to make that happen.
Something I do want to touch on, and it's a controversial topic, but you kids and the haircuts are out of control, and it's not limited to bike Speedway, it's pretty much your age group. But why?
why not? Short and sweet, why not? Do it while you can, eh?
I think for my age group at the time, it was middle part and bowl cuts. So,
Yeah.
you know, things come and go as they do. But we'll sort of wind this up because I want to do a bit of stuff on the shed as well. But you got to talk about the people that have helped this all along. So, Cordy, we finished the interview side of things and we're sort of just looking around your shed. So, what bike have we got here on this stand here?
So that's one of our main race bikes. It's obviously all stripped after we've washed it, and we'll be getting ready for practice in Brisbane in a couple of weeks. I think we are 3 weeks. I think we're down practicing in Brisbane, so that'll be the next thing that bike gets ready for. But that's pretty much as soon as we wash them, they come straight on the bench here and get ready to be put together. Oh, there's so many people that have helped us out. Just to start with, Dad and Pop, they got us into it, or got me into it. They've helped me out, stood by me every step of the way. Ivor Harm hopped in there and he's helped us. What he's done for us, you can't thank him enough really at the end of the day. All the other sponsors that just help us out with little things. Planet, they help us out with gloves and stuff like that. Cali Protectors help us out with all the helmets. Serco, they do some head work for it.
I mean, as I'm looking around, there's just stuff everywhere, but you were saying your dad's got a little engine room, so do you want to show us that sort of setup?
Yep, so the old man does all my motors. Like I said, he's the one behind all the engine work. Steve Langdon, he's helped us out a lot as well with all our motors, but it's good now that Dad can do them, we can have them in the workshop ready to go. So this is his little...
And we'll just pause it up there. Serco, that's not a small time brand. That's a big thing, and he's been involved with Speedway and everything. So that's really cool that you got help from Serco.
Area here, he's got it all set up for him. I don't touch much in here anymore. Might get in trouble for it. So I'll keep to myself out in my workshop, and he's got everything he needs. Exactly,
and as we're walking through, a bit of a shout out to Maureen and Dave Schooling there. There's one of their old school stickers and some more there, and you know, there's stuff everywhere. You know, like the short or the flat track out at Maryborough, Darcy t-shirt, you know, Ipswich, sashes everywhere. You know, it's awesome stuff. But yeah, it's good that they've come on board and have been on board for a while now, and they help us out where they can, and when we need help, they're always there. What have you got here? This trophy in particular here. Read us out that and tell us a story about that. This trophy is from King Roy actually. It's the John Titman Golden Steel Shoe Challenge. I think we ran that 3 years in a row, and by the looks of it, this is from 2016. It's one of the 250 trophies there. It's obviously a second place one. We got a few more. All the steel shoes were actually coloured as per the trophies would have been, so gold. So, like I said, we'll sort of wrap this up and do a bit of a walk around, but what would you do now if you had your knowledge now and you were starting off again from scratch? Is there anything you would do differently? Bronze, but that's pretty much the story behind that one. They're all sort of a homemade sort of thing, so John helped us out for a few years there at the club and did a bit for us. This is another one of the first ones, I think it was. There'll be many of them floating around the workshop, you'll see, and many other trophies from the junior days. And explain to me what you've got going on over here. Don't know if there's anything I'd do differently as such. We pretty much did the best we could at the time with what we had. We obviously didn't start out on the best of best. We had just some bikes that me, Dad and Pop put together in the shed. Cut down old frames, long back ends, you name it, homemade forks, everything. They were all pretty much the first two junior bikes we just homemade, and then we started on them. And Ivor picked us up and he helped us out there, but
as in such of changing things, I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't change the way we are now and where we've come from. So this is our long track bike that we're getting ready for Crindai on the 29th and 30th of May. I'll be down there doing the Aussie long track titles. So we've just tweaked the motor a little bit. It went in start of the week. It's just a matter of putting chains and clutches together now. We obviously run a 22 back wheel in this one opposed to the 19. A bit bigger, a bit chunkier, a bit more grip, and they're pretty much basic. The same as the Speedway bike, just with a 2-speed gearbox in them.
And just lastly, I just want to say thanks for sitting down, and we've just finished a day out at your home track in Kingaroy here, and the whole family was involved, and you know, everyone was helping each other out. Ivor had all his kids there, and you know, it was just a good thing, and your family's definitely doing something very, very cool for Speedway.
So we have pretty much first and second, and that's it.
So we got that there, and as we keep looking, there's Ivor Harm stuff everywhere, and we'll sort of go through now and have a look at, say, if the van's unlocked, we'll sort of have a look at the van and show everyone sort of what you've got to do to keep going at a reasonable level here.
So this is the van setup we run. It's pretty much as basic as Speedway can get. Yeah, we're just trying to promote junior Speedway really. Just another track for everyone to ride. The juniors, everyone seems to love it. We can demo the 500s around it, so that's a big bonus. It's always good to get on a small track with a bit less speed and work on your technique and everything like that, instead of just going fast around a big track and holding on sort of thing. Just a 3-bike rack. You normally only take 2 bikes with you, and it's always good just to have a bit more room. All the storage up the top, wheel well storage, everything's set up so we have a spare front and rear tyre at all time. The tent sits up there, table, everything has its spot in here, and it's good to have something set up so you can just load and go pretty much. It's not much mucking around, having to pull trailers
and you showed me that today too, when you know, you guys set out a few cones and stuff, and you tighten up your lines and that, and you definitely showed me that it's a thinking person's track as well as it's just somewhere to hone your skills.
sort of stuff.
Yeah, and this is a sort of what you would expect at the very least if you're racing in England and stuff like that, eh?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's probably one of the more basic setups you can run, but it does ask for what we want. It's never let us down sort of thing. The van's got 500,000 on it now, so it's gone for a while and it'll keep going.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll sort of cruise around the back now and have a look at how the bikes sort of get pulled down and things like that.
Yeah, exactly like you said, honing your skills in, putting different things out there, markers to go in between, stuff like that. Just the little things that will help you out in a race situation is all we work for in a practice.
What are the things, if we didn't already cover it, that you would say to the guys that are on the 500s and that, to get them to come to Kingaroy for a practice?
They just need to sort of get up here and experience it for themselves. It's not a big fast track, it's very tight and technical. There's no speed about it, but if you can get around that little track looking good and with a bit of decent speed about you, it teaches you a lot of throttle control, so it's good.
Alright mate, well this is the interview part of it over, but we'll do a bit of a walk around to the shed and see sort of the Rogerson HQ, but yeah, thanks for sitting down.
No worries, thank you.